Hello, this is lecture number 4 in syntax. Do you remember the sentence, Chomsky's sentence, colorless green ideas, sleep furiously? We decided that this sentence is grammatically correct, but it doesn't have a meaning, obviously. So meaning, the definition of a sentence, of a correct sentence, depends on its meaning. And meaning is central in the analysis of syntax. How meaning is articulated in syntax is not by the meaning of the constituents of the sentence. It's how all the constituents all together come together and make a meaning to the sentence. So the meaning is not related to the meaning of word 1, word 2, and word 3, etc. of the sentence. It is an aspect of how they all together make the meaning in a meaningful sentence. So the question of meaning, form, and function today will be dealt with within two aspects. The first one will be meaning and form. The second one will be form and function. For the meaning and form, we start with the argument structure, the predicate argument structure. If we start with the sentence, Jane wrote a long letter last night. This is an example you already have in the lecture notes. So here, the eventuality of this sentence is based on three things: the type, the things involved, and the circumstances of the action. The type is writing. So Jane wrote, it's about writing. So the predicate is a verb here. The verb is about writing. The things involved are Jane, a long letter. This is what we call the argument of the sentence, or altogether the two arguments. Argument 1, Jane, and argument 2 is the letter. The circumstance is last night. So here the predicate argument structure is based on three aspects: type, things involved, and circumstances, which altogether make the structure and the meaning of the sentence. The predicator here, the predicator argument structure of this sentence is predicator wrote, argument 1 is, as I've told, Jane, and long letter is argument number 2. Here, sentences in English can have one argument, two arguments, and three arguments. In the sentence, Jane wrote a long letter last night, Jane is argument 1, and a long letter is argument 2. But in a sentence like she slept, we have intransitive. This is an intransitive predicator, which does not require a direct object, a direct or indirect object. So this is what we call an intransitive predicator. In the case where the sentence has got three arguments, this is, for example, she gave an apple to Ahmed. So she is predicate 1, she argument 1, and the apple is argument 2, and to Ali is argument 3. Here we have got its detransitive predicator. So to sum up, we have three types: one argument predicator, essentially when the sentence has got one direct object; two argument predicator is the transitive predicator. We call this transitive predicator when the verb is transitive and it requires one direct object. The three argument predicator, which we call the detransitive predicator, when the sentence is transitive, when the verb is transitive and it requires both direct and indirect object. Let's move now to the second section here in the meaning and form, which is about thematic role. The thematic role explains the relation of the argument to the predicator. For example, what type of relationship is there between the argument and the predicator? Remember that in the sentence, Jane wrote a long letter last night. The argument is Jane. Argument 1 is Jane. Argument 2 is letter. So what is the relationship between arguments in a sentence? It can be a patient and agent. as in the case, she wrote a letter last night. The agent, of course, the agent, I mean, who or what did the action is argument one, and a letter is, and a letter is argument number two. It's called the patient. So this is, the relationship is patient-agent, which means that the patient is Jane, and the agent, who or what does the action is Jane, and the patient is a long letter. The goal, the second type of relationship which can exist between, or the second type of thematic role is what we call the goal, where something goes. The instrument is something which is something else is done. I mean, what I want to tune this by car. So the by car is instrument relationship, is instrument thematic role. The third type of thematic role is the cause. The cause, what makes something happen, or intentionally or inanimate. The experience is one, the relationship explains an experience the agent undergoes, or the patient undergoes. Between these two sentences, the structural meaning does not change because they have the same patient and agent. So the form of the sentence does not change the meaning. Essentially, when the when the roles or the thematic roles dedicated to each argument is, when the roles are explained. So if the sentence says that Jane wrote a letter last night, which has got, this sentence is obviously with the same meaning, because it defines the agent and defines the patient. The agent here is Jane, the patient is a long letter, so the relationship between them is an agent-patient relationship, which the same relationship can be kept by changing the sentence from active into passive, by saying that, for example, a long letter was written by Jane last night. A long letter is the patient, Jane is the agent, so the same thematic relationship, the same thematic role is kept by the agent and the patient, so the meaning does not change. So here the meaning keeps the same meaning. Now I'm done with the form and meaning and form of the sentence. Let's move to the form and function. In a sentence, for example, like the teacher wrote a book, here the sentence is made up of the teacher wrote a book. The is a determiner, teacher is a noun, wrote is a verb, a is a determiner, and book is also a noun. But when it comes to function, we have got two nouns here, two noun phrases, the book and the teacher and a book. These two noun phrases, the nature of the word is a noun phrase, but the function is different. In the first noun phrase in the sentence, I mean the teacher, is a noun phrase, but it occupies a different function. Whereas the second one here, the second one, which is a book, has got a different role, has got a different function. So here the form is the same. We have got two noun phrases, but each one of them plays a role. The first one can be said to be a subject. The second one is the book. A book is the object. So two noun phrases of the same type, but each one playing the role, a different role. So each noun phrase has got a function. The first one is subject, then the second one is an object. But the question here is, what makes each one of them with different function? I mean, how can function change from noun phrase to another? The function here is determined by the place, by the position of the noun phrase. I mean, if the position is before the verb, this is said to be a subject, but the second noun phrase which occurs after the verb is an object. Now, if we go back to the idea of predicate, Jane is the subject. Jane wrote a long letter. the subject is Jane and the predicate is a long letter. So the predicate is made up of two things: verb phrase, subject Jane, and the verb phrase is made up of wrote a long letter, which is in itself made up of verb plus verb phrase, that is a verb plus noun phrase. So the phrase wrote a long letter is a verb phrase which is made up of a verb and a noun phrase. So the second noun phrase is part of the verb phrase. So if you draw the tree diagram, I don't know if I can show you this. In the tree diagram, just a moment.